As part of CRUD operations in JSP, in this session we will learn how to read data from the database table and send those data to the Java server page for presentation. To retrieve data from the database table, first create a table in MySQL database and insert some records manually. Then open MySQL Workbench to create a table in MySQL database. So I am creating a table in the database schema KLU. Choose the option create table, enter the table name as student and create three columns: student ID, data type as integer and make it as primary key, and the name of the student varchar 45 and the CGPA. Set the data type as double for CGPA. Then apply. It generates a query to create a table student in the database schema KLU with three columns: student ID, name and CGPA. Data type assigned for student ID is integer and data type for name as varchar and CGPA for data type for CGPA as double. Then apply, it executes the query, then finish so that we can view the table. We can close this window and we can view the table here. Student table is created with three columns: student ID, name and CGPA. Then open a query window and execute the query. Select star from table, schema name KLU dot the table name is student. Then execute, it retrieves the data from the table. So as of now the table is empty. Now I'm going to insert some record manually. So student ID and the name of the student and the CGPA of the student, then 1002 and name of the student and the CGPA. I entered three records into the table. Then apply. It generates an insert query based on the input. Then apply, finish and ensure that the data will be stored in the table permanently. So execute one more time the select star from KLU.student. So now the table has three records. Then open Red Hat CodeReady Studio. Start implementing a logic to retrieve data from this table and send those data to JSP page for presentation. Then create a new Maven project in Red Hat CodeReady Studio. Next, choose the architecture type for web application. Then apply filter Maven archetype web app and choose the architecture type Maven archetype web app version 1.4 from Apache Maven archetype. Then next, provide the details of group ID, artifact ID and package. I named the project as JSP CRUD. Then finish, it creates a architecture type based on the, it creates a directory structure based on the architecture type which we selected. Once the build process is completed, we can explore the directory structure in the project explorer. Then open form.xml file, upgrade the Maven compiler version and target from 1.7 to 1.8. So find out the tag properties. There we can upgrade the Maven compiler source from 1.7 to 1.8 and Maven compiler target. Then add three dependencies. One is for Java Servlet API and another one for JSP API and another one for MySQL connector. So find out the dependency details in the website Maven repository. There search like Java Servlet API. So this is the link where we can find the dependency detail for Java Servlet API. So click on the link Java Servlet API, choose the latest version 4.0.1, copy the dependency details and paste it in your form.xml file under the tag dependencies. So then search On the same website mvnrepository.com, search like JSP API. So click on the first link, Java Server Pages API, and choose the latest version 2.3.3. Copy the dependency details and paste it in your form.xml file. And then search the dependency details for MySQL connector. So this is the link where we can get the dependency detail for MySQL connector. So click on MySQL connector /j and choose the latest version 8.0.29. Copy the dependency details and paste it in your form.xml file. So as of now, I added 3 dependency details. One is for Java Servlet and another is for JSP and the third one is for MySQL. So dependency for Java Servlet, dependency for Java Servlet JSP and dependency for MySQL. Then save, close the file form.xml and update the project by choosing the project root directory. Go to the option Maven update project. Once it is updated, then we can start implementing the logic to retrieve data from the database table and send the data to JSP page for presentation. Okay, now I'm going to create a build path for Java class files. So choose the directory main, right click, go to the option new folder, create a folder in the name Java. Now that build path is created and it will be added in the. While creating a web application, we should follow the MVC architecture framework. MVC stands for Model, View and Controller. Model represents the data and business logic. Controller acts as an interface between model and view associated with the user interface. Now I'm going to create two packages. One is for controller and another one is for model in the build path source main Java. So right click on the build path source main Java, go to the option new, choose package and name the package as com.controller. Then finish. Create another package. Repeat the same procedure to create one more package in the name com.model. Then finish. Now we can explore the build path source main Java. There we created two packages. One is com.controller and another one is com.model. Now I'm going to create a Java servlet in the package com.controller. So Java servlet will act as a controller to interact with the model and the user interface design. So choose the package com.controller, go to the option new, choose the option servlet to create a new servlet on this student service and finish. It creates a servlet in the package com.controller. Once the class is created in the name student service, this is the default code available on that. So open the file student service.java. So there we can see the default code. Just remove the command line so that we can avoid the confusions. So constructor also not required, just remove constructor and the default statement of do get method and the do post method. Okay, use the response object. So the servlet has two parameters, one is request and another one is response. So use the parameter response object and set the content type as text HTML. Then create object for the class print writer and initialize by using the response object dot get writer method. Then using the object of print writer, call the method print and write something on the print method. Then save and deploy and test. So in this link, along with the URL, use the Servlet class name, student service, and press enter. So the servlet is created successfully and respond to our request. Okay, then we can start implementing the Java class in the package com.model to retrieve data from the database table. So choose the package com.model, go to the option new, then choose class, create a entity class student, then finish, and create 3 instance variable based on the database table column. In MySQL database, I created a table in the name student. There I created 3 columns. One is student ID, name and CGPA. So create 3 instance variable. One is for student ID, data type as integer, next string, name of the student and a double CGPA. So then generate get and set methods for 3 instance variables student ID, name and CGPA. To generate a get and set methods, choose the file name student.java in the directory structure, right click it, go to the option source, then choose generate getters and setters, select all, then click on generate, it generates a get and set methods for the class student. Then save, close the file. Okay, next create another Java class file in the same package com.model to write your business logic. So right click on the package com.model, go to option new, then choose class and name the class as student manager, then finish. So the class is created in the name student manager. Open a class student manager, then start implementing your logic to retrieve data from the database table. I'm creating a 3 instance variable. One is for connection string, for connection URL for MySQL database. And another instance variable for database username. The default username for MySQL database is root. Then create one more instance variable for database password. Use your MySQL database password which you entered while installing a MySQL database. Then create object for connection interface and initialize with the value null. Then create object for preferred statement, initialize with value null. Then create a method to retrieve data from the table student. Return type of the method is list. Then give control space, select the interface list from the package java.util, and the data type is student entity class, and method name read data. So create object for list. List type is student entity class, and object name L, initialized by using array list class. And the type is student. So this is the object I'm going to return at the end. So next, create a try catch block. So this is the general syntax of try catch block to handle the exceptions. Then inside the try block, establish the connection by initializing the connection object the help of driver manager class, and call the method get connection and pass three parameters. One is connection URL and database username and database password. Okay, next initialize the preferred statement object by using the connection interface and call the method preferred statement. Parameter to the method preferred statement is the query to retrieve data from the table. Select star from the table name student. Then create object for result set and initialize with object of preferred statement dot call the method execute query. So it executes the select query. The result will be assigned to the object rs. Then create a loop to retrieve data from the object rs. So the rs.next method return boolean value either true or false. If the object rs has data, then it returns true. If the rs object doesn't have any data, it returns false. So based on the number of rows present in the table, the loop will repeat it. Suppose the table has 3 rows, then the loop is repeated for 3 times. If the table has 2 rows, 2 records, then the loop will repeat it for 2 times. So next create object for the entity class student. Then set by using the object of student entity class, set student id, call the method set student id, and the value is rs dot get int of column number 1. So in the table student, this is student id, not student name. Student id value from the object rs dot get int method and mention the column number as 1. In the database table, student table is created with 3 columns: student id, name, and CGPA. The data type assigned for student id is integer, so that I am using getInt method to retrieve the value from column number 1. Next, set value for name, call the method set name. Value is from the result set object rs dot call the method get string to retrieve value from column number 2. So column 2 for student name, that will be declared as varchar, so that we can use get string method to retrieve data from column 2. And the third one is s dot set cgpa. So call the method set cgpa and pass the value from rs dot get double. Since cgpa is declared as double in the data type, so I am using get double method to retrieve data from column number 3. Next, this will be added into the list object. So L is an object of list class. Call the method add and pass the object of your student class as a parameter to the method add of list. Okay, then close the connection. Finally, return the object L as a result. Return L. Next, open your servlet and remove the statement which we used to test the servlet. And if you deleted, then we need to remove the unused packages also, so that we can avoid the warning errors. Then in doGet method, we will write a logic to call the function read data from the class student manager and send those data to the JSP file. So before that, create a JSP file in the webapp directory. By default, we have index.jsp. Just open the file index.jsp. So this is the default code available on that. So just change it as student details and create a form tag. Form action equal to the servlet name. So in the com.controller, the servlet is created in the name student service. And the method is add one more attribute, method equal to get. So it invokes a doGet method in the servlet student service. Then place a button control, input type equal to submit and value equal to, so write something on the button get details. Now we can view the preview. So this is how I designed the index.jsp file. I just placed a title by using the h2 tag, student details. Then I created a form tag. In that form tag, I placed a button control. The caption on the button control I wrote as get details. Then create one more JSP file in the same directory webapp, not in webinf. So choose the directory webapp, go to the option new, then choose JSP file and name the JSP as view data, then finish. So the new JSP file is created. This is the default code available in the newly created JSP file view.jsp, view data.jsp. So here I'm going to represent the data which retrieved from the table student. In Servlet file, first create object for the class student manager. So select it from the list. It will be available in the package com.model. Student manager object is created. So then by using the object of student manager class, call the method read data. So use the request object and call the method set attribute. So it takes two parameters. First parameter is an attribute name. We can define the attribute name in the form of string. I just named the attribute as list. I'm passing the object of list class as a value. Then create object for request dispatcher. Initialize by using the request object request parameter object and call the method get request dispatcher and define your destination file view data.jsp. Then by using the object of request dispatcher, call the method forward and pass the parameter to the forward method is request and response parameters. So the doGet method has a parameter HTTP servlet request and HTTP servlet response. These two objects will be passed as a parameter to the method forward. So whatever content available in the object L, that will be forwarded to the JSP file view data.jsp. Okay, next open view data.jsp. In the body tag, I'm going to create a table to represent the data which is sent from the Servlet student service. So import the package java.util.asterisk and import the package com.model. So this is your local package com.model.asterisk, and then create a list class object. Data type is student of entity class. The object name is L, and apply the type conversion list student from request.get attribute. Okay, so in the argument to the method get attribute is the Servlet file student service.java. I named the set attribute as list. So in view data.jsp, I try to get the value from the attribute list, end with semicolon. We will get an warning error. To resolve this, we should add the annotation suppress warning unchecked, so that we can avoid the warning error for the statement list L equal to request.get attribute of list. Okay, next create a table to represent the data in the form of table. Set attribute border equal to 1 and create 3 column header. So one is for student ID and the second one for student name and the third column for CGPA. So I create a table with the 3 column header student ID, student name and CGPA. Next I am going to retrieve the data and display those data into the table. Next we need to create a table data row to display the records in the form of table. So start writing a Java for loop, create object for the entity class student and point the list object. This is a for each statement. The list consists of the object of student class. So create object for student entity class and it refer the location, it refers the object L. So then and close the for loop. In between, create a table row with 3 columns, table data, and get value from the s dot get student id. So call the method get student id and the second column create td tag and write a JSP expression equal to the value from s dot get name of the student, call the method get name, then create another column and write a JSP expression get CGPA. So in this JSP file, I just imported the package java.util. Why? Because I am creating object for list. List will be available in the package java.util. Next, I imported my local package com.model. There I used to use the object of the class student. So that I imported the package com.model. It gives a warning error. To resolve the warning error, I just added the annotation suppress warning of unchecked. Then I created a table with 3 column header student ID, student name and CGPA. And using the Java for loop for each statement, I retrieve the data from the list. Then the table row is created with the 3 values get student ID, get name and get CGPA. These 3 methods will return the value of student ID, name and CGPA. So the loop will be repeated based on the object L, number of row present in the object L. Then save, deploy and check the result. So choose the project root directory, go to the option run as run on server, finish. Once it is deployed, it opens the inbuilt browser with a link. So then click on the button get details. It invokes the Servlet student service. The Servlet student service in doGet method, it sends a response. It forwards the response to the destination file viewdata.jsp. In viewdata.jsp, I write a Java JSP code to represent the data in the form of table. So this is an output. So the table data will be represented in the viewdata.jsp file.